Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking a source document that takes a genuinely radical approach to structure. We're looking at the architecture of Python objects. Now, a title like that usually implies massive blueprints, endless hierarchies, and incredibly dense structural diagrams, right? You'd expect to be totally overwhelmed. But today, we're going to uncover the grand mystery of what actually constitutes the entire structural foundation within our uniquely brief yet profoundly impactful source material.
So, if we strip away all the external noise, all our preconceived assumptions about what documentation should look like, and focus purely on the text we've been given, what is the core architecture? Okay, let's dive into this. We are on a search for the singular truth underlying this entire system. We aren't looking for some complicated web of interconnected nodes here. We're looking for the absolute bedrock.
Think about the immense scale implied by the phrase, the grand architecture. It suggests something monumental, doesn't it? A vast, sprawling foundation that holds up the very sky of the programming environment. Our source title sets up this incredibly grand expectation. But if you really listen to what the source is telling us, the absolute answer it reveals is startling in its sheer minimalism.
Boom. Object. That single, massive, incredibly powerful word acts as a foundation of the entire excerpt we're analyzing today. It's not a collection of abstract concepts. At its absolute, undeniable core, the architecture rests entirely on the shoulders of this one isolated entity.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Because, this overarching architecture doesn't just float in a vacuum. It's intentionally anchored into the language itself. We're dealing with Python objects. The grand architecture requires a host, a specific domain to exert its minimal structure upon. And that domain is precisely defined by these objects. It brings the conceptual firmly back into reality.
Just consider the contrast here. On one side, we imagine the intimidating scale of the architecture. On the other, we have the profound, stripped-down simplicity of our actual source text, object in Python. Why does this matter for you? Well, because as a focused learner, recognizing this constraint is absolutely everything. It teaches us that sometimes the most monumental concepts aren't found in endless documentation, but in the most concentrated, minimalist reality possible.
So the crucial point is, we have to narrow our focus entirely onto the complete, unyielding phrase provided by our source, object in Python. That is the totality of the text. It doesn't say objects, plural. It doesn't add qualifiers or exceptions or footnotes. It presents a singular, unified, undeniable state of being that stands entirely on its own.
If we're going to define this architectural theory based on our source, we have exactly 3 words to work with. The grand architecture is the object in Python. There's no room for debate or external additions because there is literally no other text. It's the beginning, the middle, and the end of our source material. It's a remarkably uncompromising stance for sure.
And this brilliantly illustrates the inescapable relationship between the title of our source and its monolithic text. The title promises a complex blueprint, but the core thesis delivers a single, solid foundation stone, proving that the blueprint and the stone are ultimately the exact same thing. It is architectural design taken to its absolute limit.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that in a world completely obsessed with adding more, more features, more lines of explanation, more complexity, our source stands completely defiant. It offers only absolute, refined purity, object in Python. It forces us to just stop, sit back, and absorb that uncompromising reality without trying to overcomplicate the whole shebang. Which leaves us with one lingering thought. Is the grand architecture, with all of its implied majesty, complexity, and scale, entirely just an object in Python? The next time you find yourself tangled in a complex mental model, ask yourself if you've lost sight of the most basic, foundational truth. Keep questioning the architecture around you, and we'll see you next time.